You don't understand the magnitude of what I'm placing before you this very second. This isn't just another message. This is the turning point I orchestrated long ago, and I cannot allow you to treat it casually like the others you've scrolled past before. I've stood in silence, watching your confusion grow, listening to your cries buried beneath distractions, hearing your prayers that sounded like whispers behind your pain. And I stayed close, waiting for the hour that is now pulsing through your spirit like fire. This is not tomorrow's word. This is not something for later. I am standing right here, right now, with the door in my hand, with your name carved into it, and the next chapter screaming for your obedience. How many delays have cost you more than you admitted? How many times did you let fear disguise itself as wisdom and convince you to do nothing while heaven was calling you to rise? I waited through your storms. I watched the enemy whisper confusion and false peace to paralyze you. And I held back the flood of consequences just so this one final invitation could reach you intact. Your hesitation has expired. I am not asking anymore. I am declaring. This is your moment to respond, not with feelings but with action, not with delay but with surrender, not with convenience but with desperation. The enemy is not backing down, and neither can you, because this battlefield is not about comfort, it's about calling. If you don't step now, what I reserved for you will be handed to the one who's willing. If you let silence win again, the harvest meant for you will rot under your fear. I'm not threatening, I'm revealing the spiritual law in motion. I gave you time. I gave you grace. I gave you breathe. Now I'm giving you a final push, because my love will not allow you to waste another day pretending you don't know what I'm saying. I marked you for this hour before you knew your name. I position you in this very moment because your answer will shift timelines, will change stories, will silence storms. But it requires a yes that costs something. It requires surrender that breaks pride, obedience that walks even when the path isn't visible. I've waited long enough, child, and if you don't step now, the moment will pass, not because I am cruel, but because delay is disobedience in this season. You want me to move, but I'm telling you, I'm moving now. Are you going to keep watching? Or will you rise and meet me at the place where your purpose collides with my fire? Because this is the second I've been waiting for. Right now means now, and now demands a response. What you don't yet realize is that everything has already shifted above you. The command has been released in the heavenly realm. Angels have been dispatched with your breakthrough sealed in divine instruction, and the atmosphere has been rearranged in preparation for your alignment, not your hesitation. I didn't send this message to warn. I sent it to activate, because delay is no longer an option in this hour of convergence. What was once bound has been loosed. What was once withheld is now ready for manifestation, but the final release depends on whether you choose to step into it or let it pass by because of fear disguised as caution. I've already issued the decree. What remains is your response. You keep asking me to intervene, to speak, to confirm. But I'm telling you that the decision has already been made in the courts of heaven. It's your moment to respond in full agreement or forfeit the miracle that was tailor-made for this divine window. The spiritual world is not asleep. It's roaring on your behalf, waiting for your voice to echo the yes I've been longing to hear. This isn't about a feeling. It's about authority, yours. You've been granted permission to possess what once seemed unreachable, but unless you move now, the atmosphere that has bent in your favor will begin to revert, because your inaction will speak louder than any prayer you've ever uttered. I'm not moving later. I've already moved, and now all of heaven is watching to see if you will match the movement with faith. You've been told before that timing matters, but never has it been this critical. This is not a general season. This is a divine interruption meant to bring clarity, breakthrough, and redirection that cannot be delayed without consequence. The alignment has taken place in realms you cannot see, but if you wait for circumstances to validate what I've already accomplished in the Spirit, you'll miss the very thing I positioned you to receive. I am not calling you to consider. I'm calling you to respond, urgently, boldly, without needing every detail to be visible. This is the hour when only those who walk by fire-born obedience will witness what has been concealed for such a time as this. I've shaken the heavens in your favor, broken chains you didn't even know existed, pulled back darkness that tried to claim your future. But all of it waits for one thing: your action, your agreement, your yes. You can't afford another moment of doubt. You must stand up in your spirit and say, "I'm in," because hesitation will sound like rebellion in the ears of the Spirit right now. You asked for an open door. I sent a floodgate. You asked for guidance. I sent a map carved in holy fire. But if you keep waiting for comfort before obedience, you will be left behind by the wave I released to carry you into the unfamiliar promise you secretly crave. I've done what I said I would. I've stirred the heavens and cleared your path. What happens next no longer depends on me. It rests entirely on what you choose to do this moment. So don't ask again if I'm speaking. Don't beg again for another sign. The signs are raging all around you, and they are pointing to one unavoidable truth. The clock has struck. The time has arrived. The veil has been torn open, and now I need your answer, not your analysis. The longer you hesitate, the deeper the cracks will spread beneath what you think is stable. And though it may seem like standing still is neutral, the truth is, stalling right now is a form of self-inflicted loss. Each second you pause becomes a door for confusion to slip through, for fear to wrap tighter around your resolve, for voices I never sent to start poisoning what I clearly whispered. You may think there's room to reconsider, but hesitation has a cost that multiplies quietly, and by the time it becomes visible, it will have already stolen momentum, stripped away clarity, and swallowed the opportunities I placed in reach. I am not pressuring you out of impatience. I am pleading because your spiritual delays create consequences in dimensions you cannot monitor. The moment you stop responding to my urgency, you grant space for decay to begin. Decay of trust, of confidence, of insight, of alignment. And these losses aren't always loud at first, but they grow quickly, spreading like unseen fire under the surface until everything you were meant to step into starts burning away before your eyes. I never intended for you to suffer setbacks caused by indecision, but I cannot override a will that refuses to move. Do you understand how fragile this opening is? How perfectly timed your positioning had to be for this alignment to even occur? The delay won't just affect you. It will touch others I plan to reach through your obedience. Your yes isn't just personal. It's a domino in a chain of miracles. When you pause now, you break links I constructed with divine accuracy. The damage of delay is not limited to missed chances. It bleeds into relationships, dreams, assignments, and territories that were waiting to be claimed by your courage. I've already released the instruction, and when you hold it back out of hesitation, the weight of that disobedience starts to bend everything around you, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. That heaviness you feel isn't from waiting on me. It's from standing still after I've told you to move. Every moment you linger in uncertainty creates layers that must be broken through again, delays that compound, clarity that begins to fade. And while you think you're preserving yourself by staying where it's safe, you're actually exposing your destiny to erosion. The warning is not a threat. It's mercy. I want to protect what's still intact, but I can't protect what you refuse to act upon. The longer you ignore this instruction, the harder it will become to hear my voice, not because I've gone silent, but because delayed obedience clouds discernment. Time is not neutral in this moment. Time is pressing. It's groaning. It's either going to partner with your surrender or become a witness to your regret. And regret does not ask permission when it enters. It storms in suddenly, showing you what could have been if you had only acted when I first stirred your spirit. You have asked me to prevent disaster. Now I'm showing you how to avoid it, and the only path is immediate obedience. You don't have the luxury of another pause, not in this hour, not with this kind of war being fought in unseen places. I've cleared the road in front of you for a limited span, and if you let this moment dissolve, the next time will not come in the same form, nor with the same ease. You think you're waiting for things to calm, but truly, I'm waiting to see if you'll trust me when nothing around you makes sense but my voice. This is not about comfort. This is about rescue. Every second you delay, the damage deepens, and I can no longer watch you build your future on foundations I told you to leave behind. Have now, not in thought, not in talk, not in wish, but in movement. Because even one more breath spent in doubt is a breath stolen from your deliverance. This message did arrive by accident, and it's not meant for a more convenient hour. It was divinely positioned in your path at this very second, because any delay, even by minutes, would have allowed the enemy to intercept what I handcrafted as a lifeline. You think you stumbled across this, but no, I timed this release with pinpoint precision, because your soul has reached a threshold where decision and destiny are colliding with unrelenting force. This wasn't meant to be something you bookmarked or saved for another day when things feel lighter or when the chaos settles. I sent it now because your window to respond in the Spirit is open right now, not after your next appointment, not once you feel stronger, not when you think you're finally ready. Read this carefully. The version of you who thought later would always be available has expired, and this is me standing in front of you, not whispering, but shaking your core to realize that my voice arrives on purpose, not convenience. Every second I delayed this moment before was mercy. Every second I bring it forward now is urgency. I placed this interruption in the exact moment your heart was battling silence, confusion, distraction, and discouragement, because I know the trajectory of your tomorrow hinges on how you respond today. You were not meant to watch this when you're comfortable, rested, or clear-minded. No, I sent it during the tension because I need you to recognize that my instruction does not wait for clarity, it creates it. My Spirit has stirred this message through barriers, noise, and spiritual interference to reach your eyes before doubt could suffocate your courage again. This is not for the future version of you who thinks they'll feel braver. This is for the current you, the weary one, the aching one, the one whose thoughts have become a battlefield. I know what has tried to distract you today. I see the thoughts that whispered, "Check it later," but I overruled those lies with divine intervention. That voice telling you to scroll past, that wasn't yours. That resistance rising up right now, it's not just human hesitation. It's spiritual warfare attempting to choke out your response. You've been under attack, not because you're weak, but because you're close to an unrepeatable moment that hell wants to block at any cost. But I made sure this reached you before fear won, before anxiety hardened your heart, before you buried another opportunity under the rubble of procrastination. I need you to understand the sacredness of this timing. There are spiritual assignments and generational breakthroughs that are being weighed in this moment, and what you decide right now echoes beyond what your natural eyes can perceive. Do not make the mistake of thinking this is just another message in the flood of words you've seen. This one is living, breathing, burning with my urgency, drenched in my presence, and sealed with my timing. You were not supposed to wake up tomorrow and then come back to this. If you do, it will not carry the same force. It will not hold the same unlocking power. Not because I am limited, but because you were meant to meet me in this exact second of surrender. Time is a veil, and I opened it right now to give you access to something eternal. If you walk past this moment thinking you can return at will, you will miss what was meant to break open today. The oil I've poured into this instruction wasn't for tomorrow. It was for this very breath, this very tear, this exact moment when your walls are trembling and your spirit knows it's now or never. Don't tell yourself you'll come back when you have peace. Your peace is hidden inside your obedience. This is the second I designed to collide with your turning point. I didn't send this for later. I sent it because something eternal is hanging in the balance right now. This moment is not just a chance. It's a crafted invitation that was woven into the timeline of your life before you even knew how to ask for it. And while I built it with care, precision, and purpose, I also built it with an expiration, because what I design carries divine timing, not indefinite waiting. You're standing in front of a threshold that doesn't just offer a way forward. It holds answers to cries you buried, restoration for things you thought were lost, and realignment with promises you gave up on too soon. But the mistake many make is believing that spiritual doors remain forever ajar just because my love is constant. Child, my love is eternal. But my doors are prophetic, and when I open one, it's not so you can examine it endlessly. It's so you can enter without resistance. I didn't give you this opportunity to observe it like a museum window. I opened it with urgency because on the other side is something prepared, but not guaranteed. You cannot assume it will still be open once your doubts subside. The door is not waiting for your comfort. It's responding to my command, and my commands move with seasons, with assignments, with specific alignments in heaven and on earth. You're not in a holding pattern anymore. You're at the brink, and this brink has a time stamp. You can't afford to second-guess the access I've handed you. I don't open portals just to watch you ponder. I open them because the weight of your destiny requires your immediate movement. If you hesitate until all your questions are answered, the door will close without apology, not out of punishment, but because it was never designed to accommodate delay. The lie you've believed, that you can circle back later, has cost you more than you realize, and this time I'm pulling you into awareness so you can finally recognize that grace opens doors, but obedience is what walks through them. The truth is, some breakthroughs require timing that only exists in the now, not in the future version of you that feels more ready. Read this carefully. There are doors I've had to seal in others' lives because they chose hesitation over hunger, silence over surrender, logic over leading. I am not a God who begs, I am a king who summons. And right now, the summons has been issued, but you must choose whether to walk into it or watch it disappear into memory as another almost in your story. I didn't show you this door so you could decorate the outside with excuses or outline your fears like borders around it. I brought you to it so you could enter, shake off everything that told you you're not ready, and trust that what's on the other side was formed with you in mind. But know this, the enemy has already begun crafting distractions and creating false alternatives to keep you frozen just long enough for this door to seal shut again. You won't do it loudly. You'll whisper logic, feed your pride, stir up doubt, or convince you you're being cautious when really, you're shrinking back. And while you rationalize, the door inches closer to closing. My spirit has opened it for now, not for next week, not for another season, not for a version of you that doesn't even exist yet. The access you're being given is tied to timing, and timing is tied to obedience. You don't need another confirmation. This message is the confirmation, the announcement, the knock, the trumpet blast. I gave you the chance, and I'm urging you to take it before it's archived in the realm of what could have been. Because the opportunity I crafted wasn't to tease you, it was to test you. And the test isn't whether you saw the door, it's whether you walked through it while it was still open. What you may not fully grasp is that the realm beyond your sight is not dormant. It's active, ready, aligned, and brimming with divine motion, yet all of it is paused in anticipation of your response. The host assigned to assist you has already been briefed. The strategies have been drawn in heaven's blueprints, and the supernatural messengers I dispatched on your behalf are not idle. They are standing at attention, fully armed, fully briefed, waiting the sound of your obedience to proceed. This is not a moment of wondering whether I've heard your cries. It's a moment where heaven is listening for your command to activate what I've already put in place. You think you're waiting on me, but I've already moved it. The delay is now in your court, and every second of silence from you keeps the battalion of breakthrough standing still, their hands on their swords, their eyes fixed on the signal that has yet to come. This is why your agreement matters more than your emotions, why your surrender is louder than your requests, because your yes in this moment unlocks movement in realms you cannot perceive. I cannot make you obey. I cannot override your free will. But I have set the stage, lit the path, cleared the airspace, and issued the assignments. Do not assume. Angelic help shows up when you feel something. It shows up when you respond to what I've already established. They are not uncertain. They are not confused. They are waiting for your faith to match my instruction. You have no idea how many delays you've experienced simply because you paused at the edge of what I called you into. Your defenders were ready. Your provision was mapped. Your clarity was being carried by the very ones I appointed to deliver it. But they wait for movement, not intention. You can't delay and expect activity. I operate through alignment, and right now, all of heaven is aligned except for one piece: your voice, your step, your yes. You keep asking me why the atmosphere feels heavy, why nothing is shifting, and I'm telling you plainly, the angels are standing still because they are waiting for you to move first. They do not act on emotion. They respond to covenant. They respond to surrender. They respond to divine alignment. And that alignment is triggered when your heart, your mouth, and your action all come into agreement with what I've already declared over you. There are things I've held back from collapsing because your time had not yet arrived. But now that it has, you cannot expect me to hold it open forever while you wander through options I never gave you. Your breakthrough is not in brainstorming, it's in obedience. Your protection is not in overthinking, it's in agreement. I've set the army in place. Your name is on the scroll they carry. The protection, the pavilion, the momentum, it's all prepared. But if you do not release the sound of faith, they will remain where they are, not out of punishment, but because divine order requires your activation. You have the key, but I cannot turn it for you. I have placed you at the very intersection where earthly obedience unlocks heavenly force, and yet so many stand paralyzed by the illusion that waiting longer makes things safer. No, beloved, waiting longer allows interference. Waiting longer invites confusion. Waiting longer feeds doubt. You were not created to analyze this moment, you were born for it. And the forces I've assigned to war on your behalf are holding their position only because they know my nature. I do not move outside of holy order. And my order has placed the next step in your hands. You don't need another sign. You need to step. And when you do, you will feel the atmosphere rip, because the angels waiting will no longer be still. They will surge forward like wind through walls, clearing, guarding, fighting, surrounding, all because you finally gave the word they were waiting for. Not later, not eventually, but now. There's a lie that's been whispering to you in the background, subtle yet convincing. The idea that you could circle back to this layer, that another chance would always be waiting, that you could somehow delay destiny until it feels easier, safer, clearer. But I need you to hear me now. That illusion is fading fast, and the time you believed you had is evaporating by the second. You are not standing in an endless cycle of chances. You are standing in a sacred countdown, and this moment will not stretch just to fit your comfort. The hour has already shifted, and while you were waiting for signs, the signal had already been given. I never asked you to be ready. I asked you to be willing, and now the very thing I prepared for you is hanging in the balance of how quickly you respond to this call. You've looked at calendars, prayed over timelines, consulted your own logic, but none of that holds the authority that my word carries, and my word is thundering through your spirit right now, saying move before the moment is gone. The enemy has been working overtime to convince you there's more space than there is, luring you into a false rhythm of delay, trying to numb your urgency with distractions dressed as wisdom. But I am not operating according to your perception of time. I am operating according to heaven's alignment, and we've reached the point where postponement becomes disobedience. You must understand that my timing is not sentimental, it's strategic. I don't orchestrate these moments based on how strong you feel. I orchestrate them according to what must be accomplished for my kingdom to move through you. You've already passed the season of preparation. You are now standing in the moment of decision, and the room for hesitation is disappearing. Every second you remain still, the weight of what I called you to carry begins pressing harder, not because you're unworthy, but because you're overdue. The next layer of your assignment isn't waiting in the distance. It's knocking on your door, and if you don't open now, you will find yourself looking back with heartbreak, wondering how something so close could have slipped away so quickly. I'm speaking plainly because I love you too much to let you drift further into delay. Time is not a cushion right now, it's a pressure point, and what you do in this stretch will determine whether the promise manifests through your obedience or moves on to someone who is willing. I have warned you before gently. I have stirred your heart in quiet ways. But this time, I'm shaking the ground beneath you so you'll realize the weight of now. I've pulled you out of situations before to give you more chances, but this one isn't about saving you from a fall. It's about pushing you toward the rise I ordained long ago. You think you're buying time by stalling, but really, time is buying your silence, and if you're not careful, it will cost you access to what was already within reach. I am not trying to scare you, I'm trying to wake you. This isn't fear, this is fire. This isn't manipulation, this is mercy. You thought there would always be a later, but I'm showing you that later has arrived and is now demanding your full surrender. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't expect a pause in the battle before you rise. You were made to move midstorm, to obey under pressure, to respond in faith before clarity ever knocks. The moment is collapsing inward with holy intensity, and you must step through before the collapse becomes closure. You thought you had more time, but I've arrived to tell you with urgency and love, you don't. The intensity you feel right now isn't pressure for the sake of emotion. It's a divine ignition sent to awaken the part of you that's been dulled by delay and numbed by noise, because what's coming next carries a spiritual density that your current posture cannot carry unless you let this fire do its work. I did not send you this message to comfort your routine. I sent it to disrupt the rhythm that's been keeping you safe but stagnant, calm but confined. This fire in my voice, the one that is setting your spirit on edge even now, isn't anger, it's acceleration. It's the heat that forges vessels into instruments, not ornaments. The weight of what I've placed in front of you isn't light, and I will not send you into it with a lukewarm heart or half-hearted faith. What I'm about to unfold requires a level of surrender that cannot coexist with casual obedience. That's why this message burns, because it has to sear through the layers of apathy, fear, and self-doubt that have calcified around your calling. I'm not lighting this fire to scare you. I'm lighting it to prepare you. The days ahead are not empty. They are full of assignments, confrontations, decisions, and opportunities that will either elevate you into greater authority or expose the places you refuse to yield. I can't send you forward wearing yesterday's mindset. I can't allow you to carry old patterns into this new mantle. What I've laid ahead carries significance that will touch others, not just you, and if you treat it lightly, the ripple will not just impact your life, but the lives of those I've called you to reach, protect, influence, and guide. I'm not calling you into something simple. I'm calling you into something sacred. And sacred things are always guarded by fire. That's why this message doesn't feel soft. That's why your chest is heavy right now, why your thoughts are racing, why you're trembling without understanding exactly why. Because this is not emotionalism, it's spiritual collision. Your destiny is colliding with your decision in real time, and the friction is generating the kind of holy fire that either pushes you into alignment or forces you to flee from the heat. I'm warning you in love. The path forward will require sacrifice, and you cannot step into it carrying everything that made you feel safe before. This message is fire because what you're walking into is weighty with glory, responsibility, warfare, and influence. You cannot carry it if you haven't been refined. That's why I'm burning through your excuses, your hesitation, your imagined timelines, your comparison, your fear of man, because all of it will become a snare if it comes with you. I'm burning bridges to places I never sent you. I'm setting fire to the fallback plans that were never part of my will. I'm removing the emotional crutches you've leaned on for too long. You asked me to use you. Now I'm answering with fire, because use requires purification, and purification requires heat. Don't run from this moment. Don't silence the urgency by convincing yourself it's too intense to be from me. The more fire a message carries, the more weight the future holds. I'm branding your spirit because the road ahead is not for the undisciplined or the easily shaken. I've chosen you not because you were ready, but because you were available. And now, I'm making you ready by fire. Let it burn. Let it tear through what no longer belongs. Let it awaken what fear tried to bury. Because what's ahead is not light, its legacy. And legacy must be protected with passion that has passed through the flame. This is why I speak with such force, because what's ahead has weight, and I refuse to let you carry it in your old skin. You've been walking in circles, doing what's familiar, clinging to patterns that felt stable but slowly drained your spiritual sensitivity, and I could no longer stand by while you mistook survival for purpose. That's why I disrupted your rhythm. I wasn't being harsh. I was being merciful. Because left to the comfort of your routine, you would have missed the moment I crafted to break you free from cycles that numbed your discernment and buried your hunger. You didn't realize how deeply entangled you had become in what you called structure, but I saw how that structure began to function as a cage. It was slowing you down, silencing your expectancy, convincing you that what you were doing daily was enough, when I created you for far more than repetition and religious maintenance. The routine wasn't evil, but it was incomplete. It gave you control, but it robbed you of wonder. It gave you stability, but not surrender. I watched you check boxes, but lose fire. I listened as you prayed out of habit, but not desperation. I waited as you made plans that never included me as the center, and though I was patient, I would not remain passive. It's why I broke in, why I allowed disruption, why I sent this message to cut across your usual timing, because if I didn't intervene, you would have continued writing chapters of your life that I never authored. What I've planned next cannot be added into your schedule. It requires a full reset. I'm not here to bless the path you created. I'm here to reroute you back to the one I originally mapped out. That's why this interruption feels uncomfortable. It's colliding with what you built without me. But I interrupt not to shame you. I interrupt to reassign you. Because what's ahead of you is not a continuation of what you've known. It's a completely new script that won't make sense through the lens of yesterday's habits. Your next chapter holds encounters that require room you don't currently have, which is why I'm tearing away the unnecessary, even if it feels like loss. I had to bring you out of autopilot. I had to cause tension where there was once quiet compliance. I had to allow certain plans to fall apart so you'd finally pause long enough to hear me clearly. Because if I didn't interrupt your routine now, you would have settled for a version of life that looks right on the outside but remains misaligned in the spirit. I didn't create you to be comfortable. I created you to be surrendered. And surrender can't happen in a system that prioritizes predictability over presence. I've been trying to get your attention for longer than you know, but your routine was louder than my whisper. So I raised the volume. I inserted moments that shook your schedule. I delayed things you thought were guaranteed. I let space form around you where people once stood, not to isolate you, but to finally have uninterrupted access to your undivided heart. Your next chapter requires deeper clarity, higher obedience, and refined sensitivity, and none of that grows in convenience. This moment, this very interruption, is holy. It's not a mistake in timing. It's a divine invasion meant to rescue you from staying stuck in something that no longer holds my oil. The grace you felt in the past season has lifted not because I abandoned you, but because I'm inviting you into something fresher, deeper, and more dangerous to the enemy than anything you've ever walked in. But to get there, I had to interrupt you here. So don't resent this disruption. Reverence it. Don't rush to fix what I've dismantled. Ask me what I'm building instead. Your future hinges on your response to this pause. What you call inconvenient, I call intentional. What you think is breakdown is actually blueprint. And if you let me speak fully into this interruption, I will turn what startled you into the seed of your next sending. Because this isn't punishment, it's preparation. And your next chapter depends on what you do with this holy interruption. I am reaching for you in this very instant, not with a future intention, but with a present assignment. And yet the longer you hesitate, the more distant my extended hand will seem, not because I've moved it away, but because your hesitation allows the fog of doubt to settle between us. You're waiting for more clarity, more peace, more signs, but I've already moved ahead of your questions and placed my invitation in front of you, not wrapped in convenience but covered in divine urgency. You don't realize how precise this moment is. I didn't just reach toward you randomly. I extended my hand at the precise point where the road beneath your feet could no longer carry the weight of your calling. I knew the hour would come when your self-made strategies would fail to sustain you, and this is that hour. My hand is not symbolic. It is strategic. It is not figurative. It is functional. I am not asking you to admire it. I am calling you to grab it with every ounce of your will before the window of movement narrows again. Your spirit senses this is not like before. You can feel the shift in the atmosphere, the acceleration in your chest, the burning behind your eyes that no words can explain. That's not pressure. That's me drawing near. But I will not force you to take what I've offered. You must choose to reach back before the moment folds into memory. You've delayed before and called it discernment. You've paused before and labeled it patience. But I'm telling you clearly, this moment is not designed for pause. It is tailored for pursuit. If you keep waiting for everything to make sense, you will forfeit what I'm offering without fully understanding what you lost. Because what I'm handing you now isn't wrapped in explanations. It's wrapped in obedience. This is not about receiving comfort. It's about responding to command. The hand I'm offering isn't just here to pull you forward. It's here to prevent you from falling into another season of cycles that break your confidence and steal your strength. I've watched you cry for rescue, and now I'm giving it. But rescue doesn't always look like rest. Sometimes it looks like risk. And this is one of those times. If you think you can wait this one out, you've misunderstood what I'm doing. You've come to a cliff, and there's no bridge behind you. There's only me, offering a supernatural grip that will carry you to what your natural steps cannot reach. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for motion. I'm not demanding understanding. I'm requiring trust. I see what you don't. The war behind the veil, the agreements being formed in darkness to distract and delay you, the traps being laid to make you miss this very intersection. I have reached for you before, gently, quietly, but this time my hand comes with a sound in the spirit so loud it shakes the patterns that kept you passive. You cannot ignore me this time and expect everything to remain unchanged. What I am offering in this reach is not only the next level of your calling, it is the preservation of your peace, the birthing of purpose, the unlocking of things that have been dormant but not dead. This moment is alive, but it will not remain open indefinitely. If you keep waiting, telling yourself you'll respond when the timing feels better, you will discover that comfort cost you a move of God that only comes to those who obey while trembling. I love you too much to let you believe that the hand I offer now will always be extended in the same way. My ways are fluid, not random but responsive. I reach according to alignment, and your alignment must meet my movement in this breath. Not next week, not when emotions settle. Now, take my hand. Don't think. Don't overanalyze. Don't poll opinions. Just move. Because I'm not offering you just a hand. I'm offering you a moment that will never return in this exact form again. What you're not seeing right now is how costly indecision truly is. Because every moment of delay doesn't just hold you in place, it allows erosion to creep in silently, stealing unseen layers of clarity, favor, and momentum you don't even know you're missing. Hesitation is not neutral. It is corrosive. It eats away at doors I already opened, dulls the sharpness of revelation I poured out, and shrinks the space I made for supernatural movement to occur on your behalf. The enemy is subtle. He won't always attack with chaos. Sometimes he uses pause as a weapon, knowing that stillness without surrender becomes the perfect environment for confusion to grow and conviction to weaken. While you're debating whether or not it's the right time, the wave I released for your advancement is already moving, and if you don't step into it, it passes by, not because I wanted you to miss it, but because divine motion doesn't freeze for human fear. You keep asking for another signal, a stronger push, a louder confirmation, but I've already spoken, already stirred, already sent this fire to your doorstep, and if you stay stuck any longer, the delay will begin to cost things you can't see from where you're standing. You won't realize until later that the door you prayed for was open for a precise moment, and by the time you thought you were ready, the door had returned to silence, and the atmosphere had shifted. You think you're just buying time, but you're actually selling your access. You think you're protecting yourself from failure, but you're opening the gates to missed assignments, delayed promises, fractured timelines, and stolen authority. And what's worse, you won't see the full effect immediately, because hesitation robs in silence. It steals opportunities that looked invisible but were pregnant with purpose. It removes names from rooms you never knew you were meant to enter. It rewrites stories heaven had already authored with you in mind, not because I changed my will, but because you withheld your yes. Every breath you waste questioning what I've already made clear is a breath the enemy uses to insert doubt, to amplify fear, to offer counterfeit paths that look easier but lead nowhere. You think hesitation is harmless, but it's bleeding you slowly, bleeding passion, bleeding hunger, bleeding spiritual sharpness, and by the time you realize what's missing, the damage will already be rooted deep. I don't speak like this to threaten you. I speak like this because the weight of this moment cannot afford to be misunderstood. Here are alignments I'm orchestrating, divine appointments I've scheduled, instructions that have ripple effects, and all of them are tied to this precise season of obedience. You've cried for change. You've asked me to release what's been delayed. But the truth is, I've already released it. What's delayed now is not in my hands. It's in yours. The loss you're risking is not only personal, it's generational. Your obedience impacts more than your own life. And if you keep waiting, you won't just lose what's ahead. You'll lose parts of what you already have, because some things only remain protected under the covering of movement. Delay dismantles the wall I placed around you when you first aligned. It removes the hedge that was meant to shield you while you stepped forward. That's why the urgency feels heavy right now, because heaven knows what's at stake. I'm showing you what's possible, not to overwhelm you, but to reveal the cost of standing still. This isn't the time for second guessing. It's the time for decisive surrender. If you truly understood what was slipping through your fingers each time you said maybe later, you'd run toward me without a backward glance. The time is fragile. The invitation is present. But the losses are already forming, and they grow each time you hesitate. That's why I'm interrupting you again, to pull you back before what was within reach becomes just another shadow of what could have been. This isn't just another chapter unfolding. This moment was crafted with your identity embedded in it, sealed with your purpose, shaped for your impact, and heaven recognizes it by your name. Not a title, not a role, not a version of you that performs for others. Your true name, the one I whispered over you before time breathed its first day, is etched into this season with holy fire. This wasn't meant for anyone else. I didn't design this opportunity generically. I formed it with the weight of who you are and what you were born to carry. That's why it keeps returning to you even when you try to brush it off, why it haunts you in quiet moments, why it burns under your skin even when you silence your thoughts. But as much as it belongs to you, it can be missed, because divine timing is delicate, not because I am unstable, but because the door I opened was calibrated to multiple layers of alignment. Your heart posture, your location, your readiness, your surrender. I timed this window perfectly, not too early that it would overwhelm you, not too late that it would miss you, but right at the crossroads where faith had to rise higher than familiarity. But understand this clearly, what has your name on it won't wait endlessly for you to claim it. Just because something is destined doesn't mean it's guaranteed. You must cooperate with the moment. And right now, the moment is open, but the edges are thinning. The wind of timing is not still. It moves with the breath of obedience. And each hour you spend in hesitation is a pull against that current. I cannot preserve what you refuse to pursue. There are places in time that carry specific assignments. They open like portals and close once the assignment passes. This is one of them. I put your name on this season not just to bless you, but to position you to unlock things in others through your obedience. And if you delay long enough, the timing will shift, and I will have to reassign what was once reserved for your hands. That's not punishment. That's divine order. I move in harmony with purpose. This invitation wasn't handed to you randomly. I fought to get it to you. I cleared blockages, silenced interferences, softened your resistance, and orchestrated this exact second so you could see, feel, and hear the urgency without distortion. I'm not offering you a general opportunity. I'm offering you a divine appointment with weight, strategy, and legacy. And yes, your name is still on it, but the window is not permanent. The enemy knows it. That's why he's attacking you with doubt, distraction, and delay tactics. He doesn't need to destroy you outright. He just wants you to miss your moment. Because if you miss this, you'll keep wandering with the ache of something unfinished, sensing a void without language, feeling out of sync even while doing good things. The right season carries not just access, it carries acceleration. That's why the timing matters. That's why you feel pressed. That's why the call won't leave you alone. Because you're not imagining it. You're not exaggerating. This really is your moment, and it really will pass if you stay passive. I'm calling you to rise now, not because I demand perfection, but because I've already arranged the atmosphere to receive you. Don't look around for others to validate this. They weren't in the room when I wrote your name across this season's assignment. They don't hear what you hear, because they're not carrying what I placed in your spirit. This is sacred. This is personalized. This is fragile. Not weak, but time-sensitive. And if you don't respond, the moment will not wait. I won't change my love for you, but I will pass the baton to another if you refuse to run when I say now. That's how divine timing works. It rewards obedience, not intention. So stop asking if it's really yours. But it won't be forever if you don't step into it while the gates are still open. You felt nudges before, soft tugs, whispers that stirred your attention gently. But this isn't that. What's thundering through your spirit now isn't noise. It's my voice, amplified beyond anything you felt in past seasons, vibrating through your chest, rattling your peace, crashing into your stillness with undeniable force because this moment is unlike anything I've ever drawn you into before. This isn't a whisper to ponder. It's a summons you cannot ignore. You think you're just feeling anxious or unsettled, but what you're actually experiencing is a divine surge that's shaking everything on a line within you. I am speaking louder than ever, not because I suddenly changed how I communicate, but because the urgency of what's at stake demands volume. I don't shout to scare you. I shout to stop you from walking blindly past an opening that heaven fought to place in your path. I don't raise my voice to shame you. I raise it to awaken what's been sleeping inside you too long. This is a holy interruption. You didn't drift here by mistake. You didn't stumble across this moment by coincidence. My spirit hath been escalating the intensity of this call because I cannot let you treat it lightly. I know what lies ahead. I see what's approaching, and if I spoke in soft echoes, you'd miss it. That's why your spirit is trembling even as you try to quiet your thoughts. That's why you can't shake the weight pressing on your chest. I am stirring everything inside you that has been dormant. I'm igniting urgency because your next step is not just important, it's critical. I've shielded you in past moments when you paused too long, but this one doesn't carry that same buffer. You moved past the space of gentle nudging. You've reached the threshold where your obedience must match the intensity of my calling. I'm not loud because I'm distant. I'm loud because I'm right here, hovering over this moment, saturating it, saturating you. My presence isn't passive, it's roaring with intention. And if you keep trying to dilute it with distractions, you will find yourself overwhelmed by the very silence you once preferred. I don't want you comfortable right now. I want you alert. I want you fully aware that this moment carries divine weight, and the reason you can't settle is because I've lit a fire too bright to ignore. You're not broken. You're being awakened. You're not unraveling. You're being recalibrated. I'm stripping away every dull layer of spiritual numbness you unknowingly accepted so that you'll finally feel me with no filter. Yes, it's loud. Yet it's intense. But that's how serious this is. You're on the edge of something irreversible. If I whispered, you'd second guess it. If I stayed subtle, you'd talk yourself out of it. But with a shout, I break the hesitation. With this volume, I silence every other voice. Because right now, I need you to hear me louder than your logic, louder than your timeline, louder than every distraction vying for your attention. This is not the hour for muted discernment. It's the hour for full volume surrender. Don't try to soften what I'm saying. Don't try to tone it down with reasoning. Let it shake you. Let it burn through every layer of comfort that's kept you still. I've never shouted this loud in your spirit because the clock has never ticked this close to your next assignment. You are moments away from crossing into something that demands a response you've never given before. And that response must come now. I am not raising my voice for dramatic effect. I'm raising it because the moment requires it. I need you awake. I need you fully yielded. I need you to stop waiting for a calmer signal and recognize this is the sound of your divine shift. This is me, calling louder than ever, because what's ahead will not wait. My voice is the fire. Your obedience is the spark. Don't cover your ears. Don't close your heart. I never shouted this loud, and I may not shout like this again. So listen and move. You may think this moment is only about your life, your healing, your future, but I need you to grasp the magnitude of what I've placed in your hands, because your obedience isn't isolated. It's a key that unlocks doors for others who cannot move forward until you say yes. There are people whose freedom hinges on your surrender. There are souls whose prayers are waiting to be answered through your alignment. I've assigned destinies to intersect with yours, but they cannot be activated until you step into the fullness of what I've commanded. This isn't only about you stepping into something, it's about you releasing something into the atmosphere that someone else has been crying out for in secret. I've hidden solutions inside of you. Your voice carries deliverance for someone who has almost given up. Your presence will become a confirmation someone else begged me to send. You are the answer to prayers you've never heard, and yet they're echoing across heaven's courts, waiting for the moment your obedience collides with their desperation. I don't reveal this to pressure you. I reveal it because purpose is never isolated. In my kingdom, one act of surrender ripples through generations. And right now, your delay is not just costing you, it's postponing healing, encouragement, direction, and restoration for lives connected to your calling. You've asked me to use you, and now I am, but I cannot move through hesitation. When you pause, they remain bound. When you second guess, their rescue is rescheduled. You think no one will notice if you sit in silence, but I've already positioned hearts to receive from what you carry. They are prepared. They are ready. But they cannot receive what you're unwilling to release. I made you a vessel, not a reservoir. The oil I placed in you must be poured, and if you wait until you feel perfect, you'll keep everyone else stuck in cycles they were meant to exit through your obedience. This is how spiritual authority works. It's not about personal elevation. It's about kingdom impact. And your yes will trigger a chain reaction far beyond what your eyes can witness. I am showing you this not to overwhelm you, but to awaken you to the weight of this moment. It's not about titles. It's not about platforms. It's about presence. When you move with me, I cause atmospheres to shift around you. You carry permission to break patterns in others. Your voice is the sound of rescue for someone who's drowning silently. But none of that manifests unless you obey. You are not just holding your own destiny. You're holding space for others who are waiting to breathe. I've linked lives to your obedience. If you hold back now, you'll cause a ripple of delay, a domino of silence, a pause in places where breakthrough was supposed to flow. I love you enough to tell you plainly, it's not just about you. This moment is about what I want to release through you. Someone needs your surrender to wake up. Someone needs your step to gain strength. Someone needs your fire to reignite theirs. And I designed it that way, not to burden you, but to include you in something eternal. Don't underestimate the urgency you feel. It's not just your calling crying out. It's the cry of those attached to you in the Spirit. They are not loud. They are not visible. But their waiting is real. And the clock is ticking. I didn't connect you to them randomly. I assigned it. And now I'm stirring you, because their appointed time draws near, and your part is crucial. This isn't a suggestion. It's a divine intersection. If you step now, I will open their eyes. If you move now, I will restore their hope. If you obey now, I will use your yes as the key to unlock chains you can't even see. Don't assume someone else will take your place. This was designed for you. You were the one. And if you stay silent, the silence will echo louder in the places you were meant to fill. Don't delay what heaven has already activated. Someone's breakthrough is waiting on you. This moment isn't merely about recognition. It's about ignition. I'm not simply pointing at you from heaven and reminding you of your value. I am flipping the switch in the spirit realm that transitions you from identity into assignment. This is the hour where I don't just affirm who you are. I commission you to move in it. You're not being asked to wait for another season to arrive, another confirmation to appear, or another voice to validate what I've already planted in you. No, I'm commanding the potential inside you to come alive, to awaken from its dormant state, to shake off the layers of delay, discouragement, and disbelief that made you question if you were ever chosen at all. You are not standing at the edge of possibility. You are being launched into purpose. That trembling you feel isn't fear, it's activation. It's the current of heaven pushing through your bones, reminding you that you were never made for stillness. I didn't create you to admire callings from afar. I designed you to carry weight, to break cycles, to release what others were too afraid to speak. You've been called before, yes, but this moment is different. This is not just a divine reminder. This is an inauguration. I am placing fire in your hands, not as a symbol, but as a strategy. I am awakening your eyes, not for vision alone, but for warfare. I am opening your mouth, not for expression, but for authority. You are being activated to function, not just to be known. The kingdom doesn't need more spectators. It needs surrendered warriors who respond when heaven taps their shoulder. And right now, I'm not whispering. I'm reaching inside you and igniting what life tried to bury. You've believed the lie that you were still waiting, still in process, still behind. But I am standing in this moment declaring, you're not behind. You're on time. The reason the pressure has intensified, the reason your dreams have shifted, the reason you feel this holy unrest is because the countdown ended and the command to rise has begun. I'm not giving you permission to wait. I'm giving you orders to act. The weight you feel is not anxiety. It's power-demanding movement. Your hands were not made to be idle. They were designed to release my presence into spaces that have been suffocating without it. I'm not asking for your comfort. I'm demanding your availability. Activation means alignment with my pace, my flow, my voice, and it means moving even when you feel unsure, because my fire confirms what your flesh still doubts. The shift you're stepping into requires courage, but it also carries grace. I've already prepared what you're stepping toward. I'm just waiting for you to step like it's already done. You don't need a stage. You need surrender. You don't need applause. You need awareness. This activation isn't about platform. It's about permission to walk boldly in the territory I've already assigned to your name. And yes, the moment you move, resistance will rise, but so will angelic reinforcements. Because I don't activate my children without surrounding them. The wind you feel now is the breath of God, awakening dead places inside you and pushing you into an atmosphere that's been calling your name since before you were born. Don't you dare shrink here. Don't you dare hold back. I have activated you, and that means I will sustain what I ignite. Your steps will be guided. Your words will carry weight. Your presence will displace darkness. This isn't the season to wait for the right conditions. This is the season to walk as if the ground was created for your footsteps. You are not being invited. You are being deployed. This is heaven's moment of release over your life, and it comes with fire, clarity, speed, and favor. You're not just being called, you're being activated. And once you've been activated by my hand, you cannot return to what made you feel safe. Because everything in you has now been set in motion, and what's in motion cannot remain still. Everything in the unseen realm has already adjusted itself to accommodate what I've prepared for you. Timelines have shifted, doors have been unlocked, spiritual resources have been routed, and angelic forces have repositioned themselves to ensure the pathway I ordained is fully open. But the one element that must still yield is you. I have brought heaven into alignment. Now I'm requiring you to match that frequency without argument, delay, or excuse. Alignment is not a feeling, it's a decision. It means stepping into rhythm with me even when your environment doesn't reflect the clarity you crave. Resistance doesn't always scream. Sometimes it hides in hesitation, in overthinking, in second-guessing what I've already confirmed in your spirit. But in this hour, partial surrender won't work. I need you to match the precision that heaven is already moving in. While you wonder if now is the time, everything above you has already shifted into position. The sequence is in motion. The blueprint has been released. But divine synchronization requires complete participation. I don't force obedience. I extend invitation. And right now, the invitation is urgent. Alignment means you stop recalculating what I've already settled. It means you stop negotiating with your fears. It means you break agreement with patterns that comforted you but never grew you. The very reason this season feels tight is because I'm closing the gap between my timing and your response. You can't walk in two directions and still expect clarity. I've made my move. Now I'm waiting for yours. Everything you asked me to prepare, I did. But what you may not realize is that synchronized seasons are sensitive. They aren't sustained by delay. They are activated by immediate trust. I've cleared interference, removed hindrances, and rerouted certain relationships not to punish you but to make space for what I was aligning. But even with all of heaven cooperating, your resistance can still stall what was meant to flow freely. This isn't about being ready. It's about being willing. You don't need more information. You need full alignment. Alignment is when your choices match my direction. Alignment is when your language reflects what I've already spoken. Alignment is when your posture says yes before your mind finishes its questions. I'm not calling you to figure it all out. I'm calling you to flow with what I'm doing. And flow doesn't come through analysis. It comes through release. You must release the need to control outcomes. You must release the fear that disguises itself as preparation. You must release the lies that tell you you're behind, unqualified, or late. Because I wouldn't be aligning heaven around you if I hadn't already appointed you for this moment. Do you understand what it means that everything above you is already in order? That means your breakthrough is no longer waiting to be constructed. It's waiting for your compliance. Your job is not to force the doors open. It's to walk through them without dragging your feet. The windows over your life have been opened. The resources assigned to you have been gathered. The help you'll need has already been dispatched. All that's left is for you to rise and synchronize with what I've already orchestrated. Resistance will rob you of momentum. Delay will dull your sensitivity. But alignment, true, complete, surrendered alignment, will launch you into a current of grace that carries you further than striving ever could. I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for agreement. Come into agreement with me even when it scares you. Agree with my pace. Agree with my correction. Agree with my leading when it doesn't match your logic. Because I'm telling you this now, heaven has already said yes. The coordination has already taken place. The symphony is already playing. But a single note out of time can distort what was meant to be beautiful. I've called you to walk in sync with me, not behind me, not negotiating from a distance, but beside me, at my pace, with your whole heart leaned into what I'm doing. The time for partial movement has ended. The season of silence has closed. Heaven is synchronized, and now I need your alignment without resistance. That trembling in your chest, that sense of unrest, that unexplainable stirring deep within you isn't a warning to retreat. It's a divine signal to rise. You've been mistaking this internal shaking for anxiety, but I need you to understand clearly. It's not dread that's moving inside you. It's destiny announcing itself. Your spirit isn't breaking down. It's waking up. I've been calling you quietly in the background for a long time, but now the call has intensified, and your spirit can no longer remain still in the presence of what I've activated around you. You're not panicking, you're perceiving. Something eternal is pressing into your earthly reality, and the shaking you feel is your inner man trying to catch up with what I've already released in the heavens. It's the vibration of heaven knocking on the walls of your natural life, demanding response, demanding awareness, demanding movement. This is what divine summons feel like. They disrupt routines. They interrupt comfort. They shake everything that isn't rooted in surrender. This holy trembling is not a sign of weakness. It's evidence that the veil is thinning and your sensitivity is increasing. You can't explain it to others because it wasn't sent for them. It was sent for you. I placed my hand on you with weight, and now your body, mind, and spirit are all reacting to the gravity of what's coming. The shift you've been sensing isn't imagined. It's intentional. This is what it feels like when your assignment gets activated, when your timeline gets accelerated, when your anointing starts pressing outward because it can't stay contained in the old wineskin of your past comfort. The shaking is your soul recognizing that where you are can no longer hold what I've placed inside you. You've outgrown the last season, not because of pride, but because of promise. You're not losing your peace. You're losing your permission to remain still. I'm removing your ability to pretend this isn't happening. The tension you feel isn't punishment. It's prophetic. It's a stretching designed to expand your capacity for what's next. The shaking is heaven's way of saying, ready or not, it's time. And I'm not waiting for you to feel qualified. I'm moving because the timing demands it. You prayed for clarity, and this is it. You asked me to prepare you, and this is how I do it. By igniting you from the inside out so powerfully that you cannot go back to who you were even if you tried. You are being summoned because your role in this era matters. There are things you carry that must be released now, not later. There are voices I've been silencing so that yours can finally rise. There are spaces waiting to be filled by someone who carries the sound of my presence, and that someone is you. Don't shrink when the shaking comes, respond. Don't silence it. Surrender to it. Let your spirit take the lead even when your logic begs to resist. The shaking is stripping off layers of false security. It's purging old thoughts, fears, excuses, and illusions you clung to for safety. I'm not sending you into danger. I'm sending you into destiny. The trembling is preparation for transition. It means your spirit is recognizing the weight of what's ahead and is rising to meet it. It means the shell of complacency is breaking open. It means the time of hiding is over. You've been summoned because this moment cannot unfold without your participation. Your story is a chapter in something bigger, and the shaking you feel is me turning the page. Don't run from it. Don't medicate it. Don't silence it with distractions. Let it do its work. Let it awaken you. Let it pull you to your knees, then push you to your feet. This isn't fear, it's fire. This isn't panic, it's power. What you feel isn't a warning to quit, it's a call to move. Your spirit knows. And now let your will agree. The shaking isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you into what I already see. You've whispered in the dark, pleaded in silence, wrestled in prayer, and begged me to speak plainly. And now I'm answering with a voice that pierces through your doubt like lightning through a clouded sky. This is not coincidence, not imagination, not emotional overflow. This is me, unmistakably and undeniably, responding to what your spirit had been crying out for. You said, Lord, if it's real, you show me. And now I've brought you into a moment that holds no ambiguity. I've stripped away the noise, bypassed your confusion, and delivered my word in a tone so specific, so targeted, so personal, that even your fears are trembling under the weight of its precision. You don't need another sign. This is the sign. This moment, this message, this fire you feel in your bones. It's not manufactured. It's not emotional hype. It's me. And I'm not being subtle because subtlety would be wasted on a moment like this. You've been walking through uncertainty, waiting for someone to validate the stirring you couldn't explain. You thought maybe you misheard, maybe you moved it too soon, maybe you made it all up in your head. But I'm here to silence every one of those lies, because I was the one speaking all along. The impression that wouldn't leave you, the pull you couldn't explain, the door that kept appearing in your dreams, the heaviness that pressed on your chest without warning, that was me. And now I've pulled back the curtain and revealed myself with clarity, because you've reached a point where you can no longer afford to pretend you don't know what I'm saying. I'm confirming everything. I'm making it plain. You don't need another voice to verify it. I am the voice. The same one who hovered over chaos and spoke creation into order is the same one who is speaking into your confusion and birthing clarity right now. This isn't your imagination catching fire. This is your spirit catching assignment. This is not just a word. It's a wake up. I've waited for this moment to reveal the fullness of what I've been building behind the scenes. And now, I'm bringing it to the surface with urgency. You no longer need to wonder if you're being deceived, because deception cannot imitate this kind of glory. Darkness cannot produce the weight you're feeling. The enemy cannot fabricate this level of precision. You know it's me, not just by what you hear, but by what's breaking open in your soul. This confirmation doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with fire. It's burning away your need for external reassurance. It's consuming the idols of overthinking. It's exposing the lie that you needed someone else to believe in you before you could move. I've already believed in you. I called you. I appointed you. I placed my spirit inside of you. I've guided you when you weren't even aware, and I protected you while you wandered through seasons of contradiction. I've never once stopped speaking. I was just waiting for you to finally recognize the sound of my voice beyond your fears. And now that you've tuned in, now that your inner world has quieted just enough to feel me pressing in, I will not be silent. This confirmation is coming with consequences, because once I speak clearly, your only choice is obedience. You cannot unhear what you now know. You cannot unfeel what I've ignited. You can try to run, but even your steps will echo with the rhythm of what I've declared. I've closed the gap. I've answered the question. You don't need another vision. You don't need another delay disguised as discernment. I'm here. I'm loud. I'm clear. And I'm waiting for your answer, because I've already given you mine. Stop entertaining the lie that you arrived here by accident. I've been orchestrating your steps long before your mind caught up with what your spirit already sensed. What felt like detours, delays, and disappointments were actually redirections, divine routes crafted to remove the interference and maneuver you into position without letting the enemy trace your journey. You've questioned the timing, doubted the sequence, replayed the past looking for signs of where you went wrong, but I'm here to tell you with absolute certainty, you didn't get here by mistake. You were guided, ushered, drawn, protected, and placed. I blocked what you were chasing because it was never going to carry the weight of your purpose. I shut doors you cried over because what waited behind them would have drained you before you ever reached your assignment. Even when you thought you were wandering, I had my hand on the compass. Every moment you felt alone, I was still mapping your course. I let the silence linger just long enough to develop your hearing. I let the pressure intensify just enough to sharpen your discernment. I let the pathway narrow so your focus would finally shift from outcomes to obedience. You weren't wandering, you were being drawn. And not passively. I pulled you with urgency, even when you didn't recognize it. You thought you were chasing purpose, but really, purpose was chasing you. And now you've arrived at the exact point where my voice is unmistakable, where the moment is undeniable, and where your next step cannot be delayed. Don't romanticize the pain it took to get here. Recognize the protection that wrapped itself around you in seasons when you couldn't see what I was doing. I placed you in environments that tested you not to destroy you, but to refine what I was about to reveal. I removed certain people not because they were bad, but because they couldn't breathe in the altitude I was about to take you to. I let some things fall apart so you'd stop leaning on structures that were never built for the weight of your calling. Every tear, every weight, every shift was layered with purpose, and this moment right here is the culmination of that hidden construction. You've asked me why now, and I answer, because the time is ripe, the atmosphere is ready, and your heart is finally clear enough to receive without resisting. You didn't stumble here in weakness. You were led here by divine strategy. You didn't arrive in confusion. You were drawn through tension to arrive with clarity. That urgency you feel, that's the mark of timing colliding with destiny. That's the sound of your assignment stepping into visibility. That's me revealing why the warfare has been so unrelenting, because the breakthrough attached to your obedience isn't ordinary. I didn't bring you here to tease you with potential. I brought you here to release power. You've been walking through terrain that made you question your ability. But I was never testing your strength. I was building your trust. And now that trust must turn into action. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not being left out. You are positioned. Every step, every scar, every moment of surrender has led to this divine intersection. And now that you're here, I'm not asking you to analyze the past. I'm asking you to obey in the present. I need you to stop seeing this as coincidence and recognize it as a divine appointment. The alignment is too precise. The moment is too specific. The pull is too strong to be anything but me. So walk forward with the confidence of one who knows they've been summoned, not by chance, not by emotion, but by eternal design. Because the reason this moment carries such weight is simple. You didn't stumble here, you were led with urgency. This is not just another step in your journey. This is a turning point crafted by my hand, positioned in time to redirect the course of your life in ways far beyond what your current vision can comprehend. Everything converges here: the path you've walked, the lessons you've carried, the prayers you've released, and the battles you've survived. They all lead to this exact crossing. I've brought you to a moment where forward and familiar collide, and only one leads to fulfillment. The place you're standing on isn't common ground. It's holy ground soaked in purpose. That tension in your chest, that fire in your bones, that pull you can't shake. It's the sound of heaven marking the turn. It's the shift of spiritual alignment whispering through every fiber of your being, telling you that staying here is no longer an option. One road leads back to what is known but limiting, and the other leads into the unknown where my power is fully revealed. But you can only take one. You can't take both. You can't keep circling and calling it wisdom. You can't delay and call it discernment. You can't hold on to the past and still grasp what I'm handing you now. At this intersection, indecision is a decision. At this intersection, delay is disobedience. You've asked me to move, to speak, to lead, and I have. This is the leading. This is the voice. This is the move. And I've cleared the noise around you so you can finally hear me without interference. But now comes the test. Will you respond while the door is open, or will you hesitate until the moment has passed? I've not only opened the way forward, I've closed the way back, and if you try to return to what once sustained you, you'll find it no longer has room for your current calling. What once fed you will now frustrate you. What once fit will now feel like chains. Because I've stretched your spirit and enlarged your assignment, and the narrow place can no longer carry the weight of who I've made you to be. This turning point isn't just about you taking a new path. It's about you becoming a new vessel. I've recalibrated your capacity, increased your discernment, and activated gifts in you that are necessary for the road ahead. But you must turn. Not later. Not eventually. Now. Everything has led to this. The pain that shaped your depth, the silence that refined your hearing, the delays that built your endurance. Nothing was wasted. I used every moment to prepare you for this pivot. And now the turn is not symbolic, it's prophetic. One direction leads to repetition. The other leads to release. And I am standing at the edge, pointing toward the road you never thought you'd be brave enough to take. The one that requires surrender. The one that demands trust. The one that stretches you until all that remains is pure faith. That's where I'm leading you. That's where you will find what I've hidden for you all along. I didn't conceal it to punish you. I concealed it so only obedience could access it. You were never meant to figure it out through logic. You were meant to unlock it through alignment. So don't ask for a map, take the turn. Don't wait for guarantees, take the turn. Don't lean on consensus, take the turn. I've made the way straight, but I will not push you. I've placed destiny in front of you, but I will not drag you. This moment is about movement, not comfort. About direction, not control. About obedience, not options. So take the turn while it's still open, because this intersection won't remain forever. And what's waiting on the other side isn't just your next step. It's the next dimension of your purpose. There are losses that scream loudly, but the most dangerous ones are silent. The missed opportunities you didn't even realize were miracles, the assignments you forfeited because you needed more reassurance, the people you were meant to lift who remain bound because your answer came too slowly. You think hesitation is safe, but in the spiritual realm, hesitation is a thief dressed as caution. It doesn't take from you immediately. It robs in delay, in silence, in slow drifting away from the precision of my instruction. The danger of waiting too long isn't that I'll stop loving you. I never will. It's that the momentum I designed for this very hour will pass you by, and with it, the impact you were born to make in this exact window of time. You've been taught to weigh every decision against comfort and clarity, but I measure obedience in surrender, not certainty. What I laid in front of you wasn't meant to be endlessly analyzed. It was meant to be acted upon before the shift occurs. You think there's always another chance, another time, another door, but some doors are seasonal, and some seasons are irreplaceable. You won't always feel the way to it with lust right away. That's the deception of hesitation. It keeps you numb until the echo of what could have been is no longer within reach. I'm not saying this to condemn you. I'm saying it because what you're facing right now cannot afford another pause. I've placed you at the edge of something that demands full trust, not partial steps. And if you retreat, even a little, you will forfeit a divine moment that may not repeat in this form. I am not threatening you. I am revealing how delicate purpose can be when you treat it like it can be postponed. The longer you delay, the more heaven muster out what was originally yours to steward. I've seen it happen before. Destinies reassigned, voices silenced, moves delayed, not because I was unwilling to bless, but because my people were unwilling to move. You think you're preserving safety, but you're actually risking spiritual stillbirth. What you carry cannot mature if you keep placing it on pause. There's someone right now praying for the answer that I already placed inside of you. But every moment you hesitate, that answer remains hidden, the breakthrough remains stalled, and the momentum of heaven waits on your surrender. You think you have time, and that's the very trap the enemy wants you to believe. But time isn't your master, I am. And I'm telling you the time is now. If you knew what was on the other side of your obedience, hesitation would collapse under the weight of glory. If you saw what I've prepared, you wouldn't second-guess me for another breath. But I've kept it hidden, not to frustrate you, but to refine your trust. This isn't about sight, it's about surrender. I want your movement before manifestation. I want your yes before understanding. You've been crying out for answers, but what I've been waiting for is agreement. You don't need to see the full picture. You only need to believe that my voice is enough. You're at the edge of something sacred, and this hesitation could cost more than you realize. I say it again, not out of anger, but out of mercy. You will never fully comprehend the depth of what hesitation has stolen until the door has already closed. And by then, it will not be a lesson. It will be a loss. So I'm calling you now with fire in my voice, urgency in my tone, and love in every word. Move while the wind is still blowing. Respond while the atmosphere is still open. Obey before the invitation becomes a memory. This is your moment. Don't let hesitation make the decision for you. Everything you've endured up until now, every season of waiting, every delay that tested your resolve, every hidden place where you felt buried and unseen, was not punishment but preparation. And now, that preparation has reached its culmination. What you're feeling in your spirit is not just another wave of expectancy. It's the weight of divine ignition. This is not rehearsal. This is not another practice run. This is not the warm-up lap around a calling that's still far away. This is the moment everything turns. I'm not adjusting the settings anymore. I'm activating the mission. What you once called process has become launch. And launch requires a different mindset, a different posture, a different level of faith. You cannot bring hesitation into this hour, because this is the hour where movement matters more than understanding. The atmosphere has already been pressurized, the door is open, and I'm not inviting you to keep preparing. I'm commanding you to lift off. The resistance you feel isn't a sign to wait. It's the friction that always precedes flight. What once looked like delay is now being redefined as divine timing, and it's converging with my voice in this very moment to push you into territory that will never be accessed through passive faith. You've prayed, Lord, when will it happen? And I'm answering, now. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not once you feel more ready. I've declared this the appointed time. I've stamped this hour with acceleration. Everything you've carried, everything I've cultivated in secret, it's now being unveiled. And while you were asking for more time to rehearse, I was setting the stage. While you were thinking you still had lessons to learn, I was confirming your graduation. The final test wasn't about what you knew, it was about whether you would obey without knowing. And now that you've crossed that threshold, I am releasing you, not as someone still waiting to qualify, but as one who has already been marked. The oil is already on you. The backing of heaven is already assigned. The resources you thought you lacked are already in motion, moving toward your obedience like waves toward the shore. But hear me, this is not the time to hesitate. If you try to return to preparation mode now, you'll miss what can only be caught in the flow of activation. The grace that once covered your planning season is now shifting into momentum. What worked before will feel strangely out of place now, because I'm doing a new thing, not later, not eventually, now. You'll feel the pressure increase not because you're out of sync, but because you're moving with velocity. You'll notice people shifting away not because you failed, but because the launch is altitude-specific, and not everyone was meant to fly with you. The release I've ordained is calibrated to your surrender, and it will rise to match the level of your immediate obedience. You've been praying to be used. Now I'm using you. You've asked for a sign. Now I'm handing you the mission. You said you'd go when I said the word. This is the word. This is the sound of doors unlocking. This is the movement you sensed but couldn't define. The moment is no longer future, it's present. The promise is no longer approaching, it's here. The tension isn't resistance, it's thrust. I've lit the fire. I've counted down. I've removed the weights. And now, I am saying clearly, unmistakably, launch. Move forward with holy boldness. Stop looking backward for confirmation. Stop doubting whether the platform is stable. I am the platform. Don't try to reverse engineer this moment to make it feel safer. It's not supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel supernatural. And it is. What you feel now is exactly what launching feels like. Violent faith. Full surrender. Absolute dependence. And irreversible momentum. This isn't preparation anymore. This is the release. There was a time I whispered, hoping you'd lean in. Then I allowed silence to stretch you, to see if you would trust me when nothing around you confirmed what you felt inside. And now, I'm lifting my voice. Not because I'm angry, but because the moment is too urgent for subtlety. You asked me to speak plainly, and I honored your maturity by doing so through process, through presence, through pressing. But now we've reached a threshold that cannot be crossed through soft nudges. It demands clarity that cuts through confusion like a sword. You don't need hints anymore. You don't need symbolic confirmations in the wind. You've matured past fleeces, and now I'm speaking with volume that shakes atmospheres. I've gone from gentle to thunderous because your spirit is finally ready to receive without filters, without delay, without asking for one more reason to believe. The signs were never lacking, you just didn't recognize them for what they were. That closed door, that unexpected delay, that dream you couldn't shake. Those weren't coincidences. They were my way of guiding you without disrupting the faith I was developing inside of you. But because you asked to know me more deeply, I had to let silence shape your discernment. I had to let your faith grow beyond feelings. I had to see if you would still move when the heavens didn't echo back immediately. And you did. Maybe with trembling steps, maybe with uncertainty, but you stayed. You kept seeking. You kept praying. You kept showing up. And that persistence has brought you here, to the edge of something you've only glimpsed in visions. And now I shout, not for volume, but for finality. This is the sound that breaks indecision. This is the tone that demands movement. This is the roar that rips hesitation from your path and leaves only obedience. I'm not suggesting. I'm not hinting. I'm declaring. And when I shout, creation listens. When I shout, the enemy scatters. When I shout, everything hidden is exposed, everything crooked is made straight, everything dormant is awakened. My shout doesn't just speak to your ears, it echoes in your bones. It confirms what your soul always knew but your mind struggled to trust. This is me. The same one who walked with you in stillness is now pushing you with fire. I didn't go silent to punish you. I went silent to draw you closer. Because the ones I use most are the ones who know how to follow even when the map disappears. And now, as silence has served its purpose, I've watched you grow. I've watched you break through layers of doubt. I've seen you hold on to promises when no one else understood why you still believed. And that unwavering grip on my word is what positioned you to hear this shout with clarity. Not everyone would hear it, but you do. Because you've proven you will run when it gets quiet. You won't turn back when the crowd disappears. And now, I'm raising my voice to declare that the season has changed. The assignment has shifted. The window is open. This is not me trying to get your attention. This is me transferring the weight of heaven into your hands. My shout is a commissioning. It's the sound that separates who was curious from who is committed. You are not here to observe. You are here to respond. You are not here by luck. You are here by design. This shout is for the called, the ready, the ones who don't need another layer of comfort to do what I've commanded. So receive it. Let it shake everything in you that still clings to safety. Let it burn through every excuse you kept hidden behind false humility. Let it destroy the last pieces of fear trying to anchor you in the shallow end of destiny. This is not a drill. This is a divine shout, and it belongs to you. Let it move you. Let it mark you. Let it launch you. Because I've given signs. I've given silence. But now, I give you a shout. There were moments in your journey when I permitted pause, not because you were off course, but because the delay was necessary for development. I used those waiting periods to strengthen what the spotlight would one day reveal. I allowed certain seasons to stretch longer than expected so that your foundation would hold under future weight. Every previous pause carried purpose. Every earlier delay had grace attached to it. I allowed time to slow so that you would grow into what I was calling you to carry. But this moment, this exact moment, carries a different tone. The grace that once covered waiting has lifted, not in judgment, but in urgency. You are no longer in the season where delay is tolerated. I've shifted the timeline. I've adjusted the spiritual atmosphere. I've positioned people, aligned circumstances, cleared invisible barriers, and now I've removed the cushion of delay because forward is not optional anymore. It is divine necessity. You're standing at a point where hesitation won't simply slow you down. It will cost you. What's unfolding now requires your full, immediate participation. The time for careful calculations has ended. The window that was previously held open by mercy is now being upheld by movement. You have passed through the refining process. You've endured the pressing, the pruning, the preparation. But now is the moment of progression, and the weight of this command cannot be pushed aside until a better mood or more convenient time appears. I am drawing a line in the spirit, not as punishment, but as demarcation, to distinguish what was once acceptable from what can no longer be allowed. I've been patient. I've been present. I've walked with you through resistance, insecurity, and fear. But now the atmosphere has shifted. The assignment is active. The door is not simply open. It is appointed. And with this appointment comes responsibility. This moment carries an expiration date, and if you pause here, the momentum I've built around you will begin to unravel. The difference between last season and this one is that your delay will no longer hold the same covering. It will start to cost clarity. It will create confusion where I had already spoken plainly. You'll begin to feel the weight of disobedience, not because I'm far, but because the space I created for breakthrough will not wait indefinitely. You cannot carry the fire of this hour with the posture of a previous one. This isn't the time to reflect. It's the time to respond. What once needed discernment now demands action. I'm no longer asking you to prepare. I'm requiring you to move. The permission to wait has expired. The call to proceed has arrived. If you retreat now, you won't just stall your journey, you'll disrupt what I aligned on your behalf. This season is not just about what I want to do in you. It's about what I want to do through you. And the longer you stand still, the more you delay someone else's answer. The yes I'm requiring isn't casual, it's catalytic. It triggers chains to break, walls to fall, eyes to open. That's why the enemy is fighting your response. That's why the distractions have intensified. Because he knows something you're only beginning to sense, that this moment, right now, is loaded with kingdom impact. I allowed delays before to protect you. I permitted pauses to prepare you. But this time, I will not allow the delay to linger without consequence. This is the moment to move with reverence, with urgency, with full awareness that you've been summoned. I'm not waiting for you to feel more worthy. I'm waiting for you to say yes. Everything I set in place will respond to your movement. But without it, the spiritual structure begins to collapse. Not because I am absent, but because you ignored the release point. Do not linger here. Do not talk yourself into another round of waiting. The season of permission is over. The mandate is now. Every delay before this was allowed. This one is not. The seconds are not just ticking. They are charged with prophetic weight, each moment echoing in the unseen, declaring that heaven has initiated something irreversible and it's waiting on your response to complete the cycle. You are not standing in ordinary time right now. You are inside a countdown woven by my hand, wrapped in assignments, soaked in intercession, and pulsing with purpose. This isn't a passive timeline you can push forward or drag backward at your own comfort. It is calibrated with precision, and you're holding it. Yes, you. Not someone else. Not a future version of you who feels stronger or more ready. You, right now, are gripping the final seconds before something breaks open or closes for good. And I need you to grasp how sacred this moment is, because if you keep living like the time is yours to manage, you will miss what was never meant to wait. This countdown isn't about fear, it's about focus. I've measured the time carefully. I've trimmed distractions. I've aligned circumstances. And now I've placed the clock in your hands, not to burden you, but to show you that what happens next is no longer waiting on my movement. It's waiting on your decision. You keep asking me for direction, for clarity, for signs, But what you don't realize is I've already lit the fuse. I've already started the timer. The shift has begun, and the weight of this countdown is not symbolic, it's spiritual. It's real. It's measurable. And it's running. You can feel it pressing against your chest, tugging on your thoughts, interrupting your sleep, stirring your emotions in ways you can't explain, not because you're anxious, but because your spirit knows something is nearing its appointed moment. There's a reason your distractions aren't satisfying you anymore. There's a reason your old rhythms feel hollow. It's because this countdown isn't something you can escape. It follows you, because you're the one holding it. And here's what you must understand. When a countdown is divine, procrastination becomes disobedience. The time you think you're buying through delay is actually time you're losing. I don't tell you this to scare you. I tell you because the door I'm holding open is time to your alignment, and the alignment has reached its final window. I've moved things for you. I've extended seasons for you. I've held back storms and accelerated preparation. And now, I've placed the final stage of activation into your hands, not to control it, but to honor your agreement with me. This countdown is covenant. It is me trusting you with time, because I believe you're ready. I'm not rushing you, I'm awakening you. I'm shaking you because the atmosphere around you is shifting, and if you do not act now, you will find yourself out of sync with what I've already started. Do you feel the tension? That's not pressure, that's purpose trying to erupt from your hesitation. You think you're being careful, but I'm showing you that your delay is costing precious seconds that were never designed to be wasted. Your yes is overdue. Your step is the final activation in this countdown. The moment you move, heaven accelerates. The moment you obey, the final sequence initiates. This isn't hypothetical, it's real, and the weight of it is why you can't shake the urgency. I didn't give you this countdown to crush you. I gave it to you because I trust your yes. But if you ignore it, if you keep pretending like you have unlimited time, you will wake up one day and wonder why the wind stopped moving around you. That will not be because I left. It will be because the appointed moment passed. Don't let the seconds drain into regret. Don't keep negotiating what I already commanded. This countdown will either be the moment you stepped into legacy, or the memory of when you let it pass. You are holding it now. What will you do before it hits zero? There's clarity around you right now that didn't come from you. It came from me. I moved things out of your way that you didn't even see as obstacles. I silenced voices you were unaware were subtly misdirecting your momentum. I removed influences that masked themselves as harmless but were actually distorting your discernment. I've temporarily cleared the spiritual static so you could finally see with sharpness, feel with depth, and hear me without distortion. This window you're standing in is not just open, it's clean. It's where. And it won't stay this clear forever. Not because I'm cruel, but because clarity is an atmosphere that thrives under movement. I didn't clear the interference so you could admire the view. I cleared it so you could step forward without excuses. The fog you lived in before wasn't permanent. It was allowed to show you the value of direction when you finally receive it. And now that I've removed the clouds, now that the confusion has lifted and the road is visible, I'm warning you, move before it shifts again. Delay attracts distortion. The longer you hesitate, the more susceptible you become to the whispers that tried to keep you stuck before. The clarity I've given you is real, but it is time-sensitive. It demands action. If you don't step now, shadows will begin to reappear. If you don't obey now, distractions will start to sound convincing again. And not because I sent them, but because clarity unused becomes clarity lost. I gave you this opening not as a reward, but as a responsibility. You've begged me for a sign, for peace, for an open path, and I've answered with all three. I've given you spiritual clearance. Now I'm watching to see if you'll use it or waste it. Because the enemy is waiting just beyond this moment, hoping you linger long enough for the haze to return. He knows he can't stop you, but he can confuse you if you let this moment slip through your fingers. And once you begin to second-guess what I made clear, You'll start questioning everything I already confirmed. That's the danger of delay in a window of clarity. It reopens doors I already closed. So I'm telling you now, before you overthink this, before you retreat into old patterns of caution disguised as wisdom, walk. Walk while you still feel my breath on your face. Walk while the light is still falling directly on your next step. Walk while the way forward still burns in your spirit with unmistakable fire. Don't turn around. Don't consult what I've already contradicted. Don't ask others to validate what I've revealed in the secret place. They weren't present when I parted the fog. They weren't in the room when I whispered your next instruction. They didn't feel what your soul felt when I reached into your storm and spoke stillness. So stop waiting for consensus. Move in obedience. And move now. I'm not giving you this window so you can analyze its architecture. I'm giving it to you because divine opportunities don't stay open for indecisive hearts. I'm handing you a rare span of spiritual visibility, the kind that only comes when faith and timing collide. You may not get this version of clarity again. Not like this. Not with this simplicity. Not with this precision. So use it before it's gone. Trust what I'm showing you. Trust the step even if the whole staircase isn't in view. Trust the direction even if you don't yet know the destination. You prayed for this clarity, and I gave it. But now the weight has shifted. You are no longer waiting on me. I am watching you. The clouds are scheduled to return, not to punish you, but to move with the rhythm of purpose. And if you're still standing here when they do, what should have been a breakthrough will feel like another burden. And it won't be because I changed you. It will be because you hesitated. I've cleared the interference. Now walk, before the fog returns. Before you even stepped into this moment, I had already gone ahead of you, placing your name in conversations you weren't invited to, into decisions being made behind doors you haven't seen, into realms where influence is distributed and access is assigned. You keep thinking everything still depends on your visibility, on your performance, on whether or not the right people notice you. But I need you to understand, the arrangements I make for those I've called happen in secret before they manifest in public. I've already released your name into places your feet haven't touched. You weren't overlooked. You were being positioned. You weren't forgotten. You were being protected. The delay you perceived as silence was me covering you until the timing was mature. There are tables being set with a seat marked for you, and those who are organizing the gathering don't even realize why your name keeps rising in their hearts. But I do. Because I authored it. I planted your name like a seed in their spirit. It's sprouting now. And soon, what I've been orchestrating behind the veil will interrupt your life with divine acceleration. What felt random to you will prove to be intricately woven. I'm not just working on your behalf. I've already moved. I've gone into the unknown and made it respond to your name. I've aligned people you haven't met, softened hearts that would have resisted, and stirred up curiosity in places that once ignored your presence. And this isn't because of manipulation. It's because of my favor. I open doors no one can shut, and I speak your name in dimensions where only heaven has clearance. So don't let your current obscurity convince you nothing is happening. The activity is intense, you're just not seeing it yet. It's stirring in your spirit. It's connected to the vibration of conversations that carry your assignment in their language. The honor being prepared for you didn't begin when you entered the room. It began the moment you said yes in the dark. When you obeyed without recognition. When you served without applause. When you surrendered without certainty. That's when your name began to echo beyond time. That's when I started threading you into atmospheres too great for your understanding. And now, your name is in the air, not in a prideful way, but in a prophetic way. The right people are feeling led toward you. They can't explain why, but they're drawn to your sound, your presence, your story, your voice. Because I've embedded your name into the rhythm of what they're building. You're part of something bigger, and I've made sure your role can't be replaced. You don't have to force access. I've already granted it. You don't have to chase validation. I've already sealed it. You don't have to manipulate outcomes. I've already spoken your name into the atmosphere of alignment. Trust that what's for you is responding, even now. The moment you step in obedience, the natural catches up with what the supernatural has been preparing. This is why I've been urging you to move, not because you're being left behind, but because the moment is waiting for your arrival. The opportunity is looking for the one I whispered about. It's waiting to recognize the one I endorsed in secret. And you are that one. I've gone ahead of you and placed your identity in the foundation of what's coming. It's no longer about striving, it's about stepping. When you walk into the space I've designed for you, the atmosphere will already know your name. It won't feel new. It will feel like recognition. Because it is. So don't shrink back now. Don't wonder if you're enough. Don't hesitate because it hasn't been announced yet. I'm announcing it now, in this message, in this moment, so you'll know you're not showing up uninvited. You're arriving where your name has already been spoken. I'm not issuing this as a threat, but as a cry from the depths of my heart. A final call echoing through the unseen cracks of your resistance, not to frighten you, but to shake you awake before the collapse becomes irreversible. This isn't about punishment, it's about urgency. I've stretched mercy until it nearly tore, waited through your silence until the heavens wept for your attention, whispered even as the noise around you increased. But now I'm raising my voice, not out of anger, but from compassion that refuses to give up. You think you still have time, but time is thinning like mist under the morning sun. You think you'll move later, when you feel stronger, when you feel ready, but readiness won't arrive unless you respond first. This is not about convenience anymore. I am pleading with you not because I doubt your value, but because I know your calling and I refuse to let what I designed for beauty be buried under indecision. I'm not pacing heaven waiting for your failure. I'm standing in your room, bending near your heart, hoping you'll hear me over everything trying to steal your destiny. This world has made apathy look wise, but I see through it. The delay isn't harmless. Every day of hesitation adds weight to your spirit that I never asked you to carry. I've sent signs, nudges, convictions that stirred your chest, sleepless nights when your soul cried but your mind excused it. I watched you scroll past the very message I embedded for your rescue, and still I came again, hoping maybe this time you would pause and feel the tremble in my voice. This message, right now, is not crafted to impress you. It's sent to interrupt you. You don't know what this day holds. You don't know what's approaching when night falls. You don't know who's being influenced by your silence or what miracle is held back by your inaction. You are not insignificant, and that's why this matters so much. There's a ripple effect that only you can release, but if you stay in stillness when I'm calling you into obedience, the echo will never start. Don't wait for lightning or disaster to move. This moment is the miracle. This sentence is my outstretched hand. You can't afford to treat divine urgency like casual advice. This isn't advice. It's intervention. I'm breaking through your defenses, not to condemn, but to awaken. The tears that threaten to fall right now, they are evidence that your heart still knows it was created for something more than survival. You feel it, don't you? That pull inside, that ache that says this can't be all there is. It's not. But you have to choose the shift. You have to open what you've kept locked. You have to say yes even if your voice shakes. I'm not asking for your perfection. I'm asking for your surrender. I don't need you to explain why you waited. I just want you to stop waiting. Let this be the night you cross the line into obedience. Let this be the night the excuses died and the fire returned. You don't have to feel worthy. I make you worthy. You don't have to know how. I lead the way. I've already cleared paths you haven't even seen yet, but they won't appear until you move. I'm not sending another sign after this. This is the sign. This is the alarm sounding from the heavens. This is the shout echoing into your spirit. My love won't walk away from you, but you can walk away from my plan if you refuse to move when I say go. And I'm saying it now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. out. Right now. This is not a suggestion. It's a lifeline. Don't harden your heart just because I'm pleading instead of roaring. The fact that I'm still tender with you is mercy, not permission to ignore me. I'm still here. I'm still ready. But I won't keep pleading forever. Take my hand now, because if you don't, the silence that follows won't be peace. It will be regret. And I don't want that for you. You know you're being called. So answer before this moment slips away forever. You didn't realize it at the time, but every closed opportunity, every unanswered prayer, every silence you mistook for abandonment was actually me standing between you and a destruction you couldn't discern. I wasn't delaying to hurt you, I was blocking what would have consumed you. I saw the path behind those shiny openings you begged for, and I couldn't allow you to walk through what looked like a blessing but was laced with spiritual ruin. You thought I was ignoring your cries, but I was shielding your future from traps you didn't know were being set. You measured my love by how many doors opened, but I was proving my love by how many I sealed shut. If I had allowed you to step into that position, that relationship, that environment, it would have cost you more than you were ready to pay. I wasn't punishing you, I was preserving you. I removed the things you thought you couldn't live without because I knew they would have pulled you into places your soul couldn't survive. You asked me why it felt like everything was working for everyone but you. What you didn't see was that I was doing more behind the scenes for you than I was doing in public for them. I wasn't promoting you to show you off, I was protecting you in private so I could build you in secret. If I had allowed you into those rooms prematurely, their poison would have seeped into your identity. I know the timelines you compare yourself to, the dreams you've quietly grieved because they didn't arrive the way you imagined. But I'm not building what you imagine, I'm constructing what will last. And sometimes that requires delay that looks like denial. When you cried over that rejection letter, I was rejoicing that the snare missed you. When the relationship ended without explanation, I was the one who broke the connection before it could corrupt your assignment. You don't see it yet, but I intercepted a collapse. That contract you were chasing would have enslaved your mind. That platform you idolized would have fractured your focus. A circle you fought to be included in would have drowned your discernment. I couldn't stand by and let you walk into it just because it wore the disguise of opportunity. I care too deeply for you to give you what you're not ready for. I won't bless what will break you. And that's why I shut it. That's why it didn't work. That's why the yes never came. I knew the cost you couldn't foresee. And even though it hurt you in the moment, I was holding your eternity in mind. Do you really think I'm withholding from you? Do you think I take pleasure in your frustration? No, my beloved. I'm a father who would rather see you cry in my arms now than see you shatter alone later. I'm not late. I'm careful. I'm not cruel. I'm strategic. You keep asking me to open new doors, but I'm asking you to praise me for the ones I closed. Those blocked paths were barricades of mercy. I didn't let the enemy touch you, not because he didn't try, but because I said no. You think spiritual warfare is only in battles you can see. But I fought for you in rooms you didn't enter, in deals you never signed, in partnerships that didn't happen. You thought you were overlooked, but I was lifting you above harm's reach. You thought it was a missed chance, but it was my rescue plan. What would have looked like a shortcut would have become a slow spiral. What seemed like your breakthrough was a beautifully masked breakdown, and I couldn't let it claim you. That's why I did what I did. That's why I stopped what I stopped. Not to punish, but to preserve. And now, I need you to trust me with what I'm about to open next. Because what's coming was accessible until what was wrong was removed. You're about to see why I withheld. You're about to step into what fits your calling without compromising your soul. But you must walk into it with gratitude for what I closed, not bitterness about what didn't bloom. Because the door I'm unlocking now was always meant for you, it just wasn't time yet. And now, it is. You wondered why certain people exited your life without a warning, why relationships you fought for suddenly collapsed, why those you trusted turned distant or silent without explanation. But what you perceived as betrayal was actually my divine extraction. Their presence was becoming a blockade to your purpose. Their influence, their opinions, even their silent expectations were dimming the clarity I needed you to carry. I saw what you could not see: the way their presence was shaping your identity, altering your direction, tampering with your convictions. And I could not allow their comfort to become your prison. So I intervened. I didn't wait for you to understand. I acted when it was time. Because I knew if you stayed entangled, your vision would remain fogged, your pace would slow, your discernment would dull. I removed what was no longer aligned, not because I didn't care about your feelings, but because I cared too deeply about your future. You were trying to keep connections that I already called expired. You were asking me to bless relationships I had already shut the grace over. My child, you cannot carry the weight of your assignment and the burden of compromised company at the same time. That's why the shift came. That's why the call stopped. That's why the loyalty you expected was never returned. Because I pulled you out of what would have kept you circling when I'm calling you to climb. Their language no longer matched your destiny. Their presence wasn't just delaying you, it was diluting you. And I couldn't allow the echo of their opinions to muffle my instructions any longer. You needed silence to hear me. You needed space to grow. You needed distance from them so I could bring you closer to me. I didn't expose their heart to hurt you, I revealed it to protect you. Had you continued walking with them, you would have adjusted your convictions to keep the peace. You would have compromised your progress to maintain the connection. But I'm not raising you to be popular, I'm raising you to be powerful. And sometimes power requires separation. You don't need everyone's agreement when you carry my anointing. The path I have you on cannot be shared with those who drain your fire. Some were assigned to your past but had no place in your next. That's why I stirred discomfort until disconnection became the only way forward. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. They couldn't come because they weren't willing to be refined. And you cannot delay your transformation just to keep familiar company. The calling on your life is time-sensitive. And I refuse to let it be stalled by people who no longer carry spiritual compatibility. Their absence created room for me to stretch you. Your silence allowed you to finally listen to my whisper. Their departure birthed the hunger that drew you closer to me. You thought you lost something, but you gained clarity. You gained focus. You gained authority. And now, I'm surrounding you with those who see what I placed in you. People who will cover you, not compete with you. Voices that won't manipulate but will minister. Hearts that won't distract but will build. Because the next move requires alignment with my purpose, not attachment to your comfort. And I'm not finished pruning. Don't resist it when I start trimming again. Don't cling to what I'm calling you to release. Don't try to resurrect what I'm buried. I'm not removing to punish, I'm preparing to elevate. You can't walk in new oil while holding onto old connections. Let go, child. I got better. Trust me with the space. Trust me with the silence. Trust me with the solitude. Because I'm filling it with substance, not substitutes. The ones who left were never holding you up, I was. And now that they're gone, you'll finally see how much I was the one sustaining you all along. Amen.